You fooled around till you found I was yours from the start. Then, like a child with a toy, you just played with my heart. You never meant the things you told me. You couldn't be true somehow. You have heard the story of the moth and the flame. What a fool I'd be to play with fire again. You didn't want me when you had me. So why do you want me You never meant the things you told me. You couldn't be true somehow. You have heard the story of the moth and the flame. What a fool I'd be to play with fire again. You didn't want me when you had me, so why do you want me now?